Don't call it a comeback, we've been here for years. It's Parrish, it's Spencer. It's the P.O.S. show on Love Wrestling.
Hello, friends. It is. Ta-da. It is us. It is Parrish and Spencer on the first ever edition of the P.O.S. show here on Love Wrestling. Friends, welcome. I'm excited to be here. It's my favorite pay-per-view of the year. I'm chatting wrestling with one of my favorite people to chat wrestling with. Parrish, man, how are you doing, dude? It's good to see you.
I'm doing a little bit of all right. It's the Rumble. How could you not be excited? The Oilers finally won, so that's always a plus. But yeah, I mean, it's Rumble. It's the road to WrestleMania kicking off right now, and we're kicking off the first successful month of Love Wrestling.
Absolutely, man. We are 31 days in. Of course, one of our contributors here at Love Wrestling joining us in the chat, Mighty Joe Morin. Joe, good to see you. Good to see a few other people joining us for this edition of the POS show. If you guys want to get your thoughts in on the Royal Rumble, anything around it, surprise entrance, whatever your flavor may be for discussion, that's what we're here for today. We're going to offer up our predictions as well as getting the Love Wrestling Elite Championship awarded to one of us for the very first time. It's a very exciting day for us here, but I know it's a very exciting day for everyone else out there as well. So make sure you guys get your comments and make sure you give us a like, a share, whatever it does, or however you choose to support. It does continue to help us bring you shows like this and more shows from great contributors like guys like Mighty Joe Morin in the chat. But we're not just here to sing his praises. We're here to talk about the 2021 Royal Rumble, which there's no doubt whether it's a great event, whether it's a bad event, anything in between is definitely going to go down as one of the most unique Royal Rumbles of all time. There aren't any fans in attendance. That was confirmed a couple of weeks ago, but you and I have talked a couple of times about it. Parrish, the WWE's done a fantastic job utilizing the Thunderdome and giving us that sort of real experience. How do you think that's going to affect an event like the Rumble, where fan experience, even more than a lot of events out there, really is a fan participation extravaganza?
Well, I think I said it last week on Sunday Brunch that you're really going to take away from that instant gratification of a moment just because you're not going to get that reaction. Like I still watch the reactions of when Edge came out last year, and when guys would think, like, there's one video where a guy's thinking it's Seth Rollins, and then it's like, you think you know me, and he just goes completely AWOL. And it was just like, you're not going to have those moments. But I hope WWE takes the time to actually ask maybe their fans, hey, record your live reaction at home, and we'll broadcast that on our social media, or maybe just like on the Raw or whatever. I think that would actually help WWE moving forward. But I mean, the fact that there's no fans on, I mean, this just goes to say that I don't care what they did yesteryear. Bill Goldberg, can't draw, brother.
Not one paid fan in attendance for Big Bill's return. What a disappointment, but what a great argument against them. I agree, though, man. I think that WWE's got a really cool opportunity here to do some different stuff with the Thunderdome. Like you say, one of my favorite parts every year is seeing those reactions. You know, you mentioned with Edge last year, one of my favorite parts of the Hardy Boys coming back was seeing all of the fan shot videos and all of that sort of stuff on that end as well, too. So I really hope they do really play that up, especially like you say, because everybody's going to be indoors in their own socially distanced scenario or whatever you so describe. Sorry, as my dog goes off as my girlfriend gets home from her run as well. That's official mascot JP. But yeah, I hope they exploit that opportunity. I hope they take it upon themselves to do some cool things with this year's very unique Royal Rumble. However, man, I'm super excited. It's still the Rumble. There's still going to be some great surprise entrants. I think, again, we talked about it last week on the Sunday Brunch, but because you're going to have less fans in attendance, less opportunity, I guess, for spoilers to get out there, perhaps, I think that you're still going to see some great surprise entrants, some people that you maybe wouldn't expect to have returned, like we saw last year with MVP. There were no rumors around him coming back, and obviously you see the run that he's gone on. It's going to be a cool Rumble, man, and I'm very, very excited to dive into it with you. We're going to take a short – oh, no, we're not quite there yet. Let's get into
so eager.
Sort of early prediction. I know. I'm excited for commercials here. Actually, good. I'm glad we got a question in here. Mighty Joe. Apparently, there's 9 surprise entrants in the men's Rumble. Any ideas? I want to touch on a lot more of them later on here, Parrish. So before we dive right into them, let's maybe limit to say 3 apiece.
Okay. Well, I mean, I do believe that we're going to see some like returns of guys that aren't that, we know that are in the WWE, but just we haven't seen in a while, like a John Cena, maybe a Wade Barrett, who just became a U.S. citizen just the other day. But I think we might see some of those. But I mean, you got the Marty Scurlls, you got the Jay Whites. Those are 2 I'd love to see for sure.
Mm-hmm. I really don't know, to be honest with you. I think that, like you say, it's going to be a couple of people who are still active wrestlers on the WWE roster that might be some of those surprise returns. I'd be shocked if Seth Rollins didn't make his return in this. He was advertised, 3 weeks ago to come back to SmackDown, maybe even longer if memory serves me correctly. So he's obviously ready and raring to go. My hope is that he does come back. He won it last year. He's done some great things in the Royal Rumble before. And
he did not win last year.
2 years ago. Sorry, I get confused. Years are tough in January. 2 years ago, though, excuse me.
There's a title on line, Spencer. Raise that game up.
That doesn't have anything to do with the title. I think that Seth Rollins would be sorely missed if he wasn't in it. So I hope he's back. And then, Joe echoes my point. I think Cena shows up for sure as well. There are a ton of rumors around him being back and being a lock for WrestleMania this year. And there's no better way to bring a guy like that back than the Royal Rumble. I also could see if Drew McIntyre wins the WWE Championship match later in the night. Maybe Big Bill makes his appearance in the Royal Rumble again, if we want to count that as a surprise entrant. But like I said, we're going to talk about those a ton later. Maybe we just gave a little bit of a spoiler on it, Parrish, but it is the Rumble. It's usually a pretty easy prediction for anybody to make. But before we take a quick break here to showcase some great stuff that Josh Robinson has coming up today as well on Love Wrestling, what's your early pick for match of the night that is not one of the Royal Rumbles?
I think my match of the night might actually be Sasha Banks and Carmella, simply because lately I've been seeing a lot of improvement in Carmella. She just seems a lot more confident in herself nowadays. And I think with Sasha and the way she takes that leadership position in a match, I think these 2 girls I think they have that, we don't care if it's the Rumble, we're stealing the show mentality. And I think that's a dangerous thing.
Absolutely, man. I would agree. I think that it's got the opportunity to not steal the show because everybody does expect it to be a good match. But I've really got high hopes for Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Obviously, my Canadian bias is there. It's always a tangible thing that I'll consider when things happen, but with this sort of weight behind them. But Roman Reigns has just been on the run of a lifetime, of anyone's lifetime, of a generation, arguably. The guy's just been so good lately. So I got high hopes for that one. When we come back here on the P.O.S. show right here on Love Wrestling, we've got the rules. We've got the official physical unveiling of the Love Wrestling Elite Championship. We've got some more details into what you guys can expect from the Royal Rumble. Stay tuned for a couple of minutes, folks. Josh Robinson has some great stuff, and you don't want to miss it.
The fact that it's Rumble season, the fact that it's, again, I can speak for you here and say it's just our favorite time, because even the worst Rumbles are still a Rumble, and I'd still probably take a bad Rumble over a lot of other stuff. So I'm pretty interested, and I thought the best way that we can get ourselves hyped for the 2021 Royal Rumble is go back to 2020 and watch the Women's Royal Rumble from last year, because I think, now I know that this will be a little bit of a hot take, the 2020 Rumble as a pure wrestling match is the best Women's Royal Rumble there has been, in my opinion. I think that. I love the first one. I would agree with you. The first one is nostalgic, and the first one is, we're here, we're doing this. It could have been the literal worst match in the world, and I wouldn't have cared, because it wasn't about that. It was about, like, this is happening. Holy crap. And then the kind of second one was about Becky's rise, and we knew that was for Becky. I can kind of say that pretty certainly. Going into this one, while there was a group at the top that we thought were going to win, it was a little more unpredictable, I would say.
I agree. It is a sentiment that I think definitely applies to this year's Royal Rumble right after the POS show. You guys can head over to Love Wrestling. You guys can stay right here wherever you may be watching this edition of the POS show. And you can check out Josh's Royal Rumble 2020 watch along. I got to join him with it. It was a blast for me to get to do. And it always gets me excited for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Parish, let's unveil our rules for the Love Wrestling Elite Canadian Championship, and then we'll get the championship itself unveiled before you and I start to break down the matches themselves. Here they are. Parish, you take a stab at reading them.
All right. Well, first we got the Royal Rumble winner is going to be awarded 7 points. So if you have the Royal Rumble winner, you will get 7 points. Any surprise entrant you have that you pick, that's going to be worth 4 points. And they must not be announced prior, or, for us, we have information that maybe everyone else not have. So no dirt sheet information. I think that's just cheating on our end, and we're better than that. We care about accuracy. I love wrestling, and we care about integrity. So, and then also each entry gets an additional value point, such as if you're in the men's rumble and you pick Edge or Randy Orton and they win, you'll get 4 points because they're numbers 1 and 2. Numbers 3 and 10 is going to be worth 3. 11 to 20 is 2. 21 to 30 is 1 point. Just because they say you have a better chance of winning at the higher number, so we're going to decrease the point total there. All standard matches, so anything that's a tag, one-on-one, anything like that, anything that's basically not a rumble. We got 1 point for a win, a negative point for a loss, 2 points for a draw, because sometimes someone can get that right here. And then we also have 3 points for the exact call, which means if it's a tag match, you're saying I'm picking person A to pin person C, or, we're going to choose, like, say there's going to be interference from a specific person. Like, the exact call of that finish is what we're asking for. And then, that is worth 3 points. So, if you have the most accumulated points at the end of the show, you become the Love Wrestling Elite Champion. And then when it comes to tonight, you will become the first ever Love Wrestling Elite Champion.
That you will, Parish. Of course, that championship right here. I'm sorry.
Are you saying, I will?
With the camera. Someone will. I'm very excited about this, of course. You guys can see it right here, this beautiful piece of gold that I'm trying to get in the camera while still being able to talk. This was lovingly sponsored and brought to you by Elite Promotional Marketing right here in Edmonton, Alberta. However, they've got a ton of great locations if you're looking for some great stuff for not only professional wrestling, but all of your promotional marketing needs. They're the place I always go. I highly recommend you guys check them out as well, because seriously, guys, this is cool as shit. Brought to you again by the fine folks at Elite, and by the end of the night will be lovingly given to either myself or a Parish, who will become your first ever, your inaugural, your Love Wrestling Elite Champion. Now, one thing that we weren't able to fit on the graphic, admittedly, but of course, whether Parish or myself wins the championship, we will be defending it at the next WWE pay-per-view, which I believe is Fastlane, if my math is correct. But it could also be Elimination Chamber, because I always confuse those two dates. However, whichever one it may be, that I know I'll get fact-checked in the comments here, that's where you guys will next see the Elite Canadian Champion defending their title for the very first time. Joe Morin hopping back in the comments as well, saying my real surprise pick is actually Shawn Michaels, to go back from our conversation to earlier. They're in Florida, and he's likely in the area. I just hope not. I just hope not. That's all I'm going to say about that one. I will leave that one alone. Parish, are you ready to make some predictions? Are you ready to start doing what we do best and getting overly heated about a scripted combat sport?
I'm waiting for you to ask me that question, because I'm willing to do something that the Oilers need to learn to do. I'm about to start a winning culture right now. So, yes, let's get to it. I make fun of my
Beautiful,
teams.
my friend. We all do, of course. Now, the first match we want to tackle off here is one that I believe was the last one that was officially announced for the pay-per-view. This was announced officially on Monday Night Raw. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax will be looking to reclaim their women's tag team championships from the now champions Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Parrish, if you don't mind, I'll tackle this one off. I'm quite excited, to be quite honest with you. I know that the story is definitely a little bit lacking, in my opinion. I would have really liked had there just been a little more oomph behind it. You know what I mean? I know that they've tried to tell the story of Shayna and Nia asking for their rematch 2 weeks ago. It all seems very shoehorned in. It all seems very, thrown together, for lack of a better way to put it. But that being said, as far as the match itself goes, take or leave Nia Jax. I'm not here to shit on anybody. I've never professionally wrestled, so it's not really my right to shit on anybody who is doing something that I can't do. But I think it's pretty inarguable for the other three women in this match that they're three of the best female wrestlers, three of the best wrestlers, arguably, on the WWE roster right now. So I can always get excited about great professional wrestlers with something to prove on a major pay-per-view. And I think that this match is firmly planted in that category, right? I think that anybody would work with a chip on their shoulder if, again, they're working under those sort of conditions of being almost, again, shoehorned in or almost thrown into this pay-per-view, which I think it does feel like for me. They're great pro wrestlers, though, and I'm excited for the match itself. And I'm excited to see what happens if we want to do our predictions now, Parrish, with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax moving forward after this pay-per-view as your women's tag team champions, because personally, I think there's just a much more interesting story to be told with a loss from Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Maybe they go after each other. I'd have no issue with those two facing off again at WrestleMania, potentially for the Raw Women's Championship. That's getting ahead of itself. But I think there's just a great story to be told with Charlotte and Asuka feuding again under very different circumstances.
Yeah, and I think too, like what really surprises me about this match is that we have more of a story between Shayna and Nia, like an internal story between them. Whereas Asuka was working with Alexa Bliss, and we saw Charlotte working with Lacey Evans with the whole "I have daddy issues with Rick," which not one of those had anything to do with the women tag team titles. And that's where I say you got to change the tag titles at this point, because you're doing them a disservice. Even though they're on two of the best wrestlers in the division right now, you're not promoting them. You're not really doing anything to help them out. So I believe Lacey Evans is going to play a part in this match. She's going to cost Charlotte the match, and we're going to see Shayna Baszler pin Charlotte Flair to regain those tag team titles, because I don't know if you took anything on this on Raw, but we saw a teaser between Shayna and Charlotte, and I think it benefits Shayna a lot more now that if she got that pin, so they can always come back with that match. So yeah, I'm with you on new champions, but I do think that Shayna Baszler getting that pin on Charlotte, just because you're not going to get your Raw Women's Champion to take the loss here. I don't think that's smart booking at all. So no, that's my prediction.
See, I would disagree with you there, though, and again, just based on the fact that I think that there's a great story to be told between Charlotte and Asuka feuding after this. The best way to get there for me is as with Charlotte Flair as a heel. I think that I like her as a babyface. I've got a lot of time for her as a babyface, to be honest with you, a lot more than most, I think. And I still am firmly of the belief that she is just she's one of the best heels out there. Like there's just no argument that I can think of otherwise, right? Like her character is repetitive is the common argument. I think the flip side of that for me is there has been no more consistently presented character than Charlotte Flair. She's after championships. She wants to chase championships. And if Asuka becomes the reason that she loses a championship, well, she's got to regain that championship somehow. So maybe you end up seeing Asuka versus Shayna at Elimination Chamber or Fastlane or wherever. But I do think that if the long-term goal here, as I believe it should be, is Asuka versus Charlotte 3, I think that Asuka's got to be the one to take the pin.
See, I just know that I've heard rumors about Charlotte perhaps getting, a tweak of her character, or perhaps moving forward just to kind of revamp her a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Charlotte maybe on the downswing to get there. I know WWE likes to do stuff like that. I don't know. And plus, like, I'm not finished with Alexa and Asuka yet. I don't know about you, but that still seems like it's a story still unfinished. So I'm not saying that's WrestleMania worthy. I'm just saying I think we're going to see a closing chapter to that at some point. But I don't know. I mean, to me, if Asuka takes a loss here, I really question the way they used her with the Raw Women's title moving forward right now, because they really haven't done much with her as champion.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. And I don't think it's from a lack of trying on Asuka's end. I think that whenever she's got an opportunity to be presented as the Raw Women's Champion in wrestling matches, back, whatever it may be, she's hit it out of the park. I think she's one of the most entertaining wrestlers out there right now. But like you say, it's kind of unfortunate for me that the Raw Women's title has taken a bit of a back seat. But that's also another reason for me that I think that Asuka could be the one to take the loss here, in that being the Raw Women's Champion maybe isn't front of mind for everybody right now. So is that your official prediction? Are you locking that one in, Christopher Parrish?
Yeah, I have Shayna and Nia Jax reclaiming the women's tag team titles with Shayna over
Sounds
Charlotte.
good. You're writing down the predictions, right?
Yeah, I already made the graphic up for my end of it, so I already kind of wrote mine down per se.
These are the things we should have coordinated prior to going live.
I didn't want to send you my predictions at all, though.
Fair enough. Either way, you guys have our predictions. I'll be sending mine over. We'll have them out on social media afterwards. But if you guys have predictions, if you guys have comments, concerns, questions, whatever it may be on the match we're talking about now, or any of the matches on today's Royal Rumble card, let us know in the comments. We're happy to answer any that you may have, provided they're tasteful, of course. But yeah, that's what we're here for. We're here to talk professional wrestling with everybody. It's not just between Parrish and myself, because if it was, well, then we may as well just hand me the championship at this point. Parrish, let's move on to our next match if we've got those both locked in right now. The next match I want to get off the docket is the SmackDown Women's Championship match. We alluded to it a little earlier. It's your pick for the match of the night, early match of the night outside of the Rumble matches. Sasha Banks, the Boss, the Blueprint versus Carmella. I'll let you lead this one off.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is probably the most obvious one. I don't see a title switch going on at all. There does not need to be one. I think Sasha Banks is riding high right now as a champion. She's starting to really develop her first successful title reign, in my opinion, on her own. I think Carmella is going to come in, have a great effort. I think this is a time where you see Carmella in both the title match and the Rumble. But yeah, I just see a good, solid match here to help elevate Carmella. But Sasha Banks with the Banks statement, submission, still champion. She's walking in with the Golden Mania. So that's my prediction, Sasha Banks submission.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see any reason they should or they would want to take the title off Sasha Banks for, frankly, anybody right now. I really don't. Like, the only person, in my opinion, that could on SmackDown would be someone like a Bianca Belair. And even then, just given the fact that they're both working the babyface angle with it right now, I don't even see that for the foreseeable future. So I think you're bang on. I think that it's a tap out from Carmella. Reginald will try and get involved, and there will be a cool spot there. I really like what they did with him and Sasha on SmackDown a couple weeks ago. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. So I think you'll see him try to get involved. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. I'd be shocked if Sasha lost the title before SummerSlam, to be honest with you. I really would be. She's been that good.
Yeah, it takes the right person, right story for me to take the title away from her right now. And she's long overdue for a good, solid title reign, too. So if you're not going to add that right person, right story, then I think you're doing her the disservice here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also watching myself like freeze up. Hopefully my audio is still good. Let me know if that cuts out, please. But I'm getting a lot of like nice, interesting faces for myself here on the internet cutting out. And on my end, I apologize for that. However, I've got to lock in my pick as well, Parrish. I think that Sasha Banks via submission. and we'll talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship a little bit more in a few minutes, I'm certain.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm keeping it very small here. Yeah.
I think we're on a very similar page with that one. Of course, I'll say it after every match, but if you guys are in the comment section on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, feel free to get your picks in. Let us know what you guys are thinking about the Royal Rumble. Any of the matches on the card are up for grabs. Any of the pre-show matches, which unfortunately we won't be highlighting here because we just simply don't know what they are yet, or any matches that may come up, we're happy to be informed live on the air. Let us know your thoughts on the Royal Rumble. We're happy to hear them. We're happy to share them. Zach, a fellow contributor here on Love Wrestling, who is JP's pick to win the Rumble? The Junkyard Dog. I don't even know if that's feasible, but the Junkyard Dog.
Not the Bulldog? Not the Bulldog?
You know, and we'll talk about him in a couple of minutes as well. I could see Davey Boy Smith Jr. making an appearance in the Rumble.
Oh, good old Harry. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Harry.
I could see that happening. I'm just always like
what about his counterpart? What about his counterpart? We heard a little story not too long ago that something about Tyson Kidd possibly. I don't know. Like I was hearing some rumors. How
I look at stuff like that a lot. Like I look at returns like Edge and Daniel Bryan and all of that sort of stuff, right? Last year before the Rumble, there were a ton of rumors. There were a ton of all but confirmed rumors that Edge was going to be in the Royal Rumble. And my theory with injuries especially has always been I never want to get too excited about someone else's injury, or I never want to set myself up with that. If Tyson Kidd was to return, like, dude, you know me, I consider him one of the all-time greats to come out of Canada. I'd probably be just personally as excited about Tyson Kidd coming back as I would be for Edge. I, though, like in the interview I did with him a few months ago, he said it's just not possible. I'm always going to trust people at their word with stuff like that. Yeah. I never want to contradict people on what they say about their injuries. So I always will hope for it, but I will never expect it unless, like, literally there is a photo tweeted out in wrestling gear in gorilla position before they make their entrance, like WWE tends to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I could see Davey Boy Smith Jr. there. There have been a lot of rumors about him coming back with the 2020 Hall of Fame class now being moved to 2021. He's a free agent. There's just a lot of great loose ends there that could be tied up by DBSJ, as I'm going to allude to him now, making a return in the Rumble. But we're going to talk about the Rumble in a couple of minutes. Let's move on to one of our men's championship matches. Parrish, is there one you want to talk about in particular, or do we just want to go down in the order I've got the slides?
Let's talk about Bill and Drew. I think just because, gotta leave the head of the table near the end, right? So
I agree. The head of the table is the main event of the second segment. I completely agree with that. Plus, I like to talk about Big Bill. I'm going to make sure I'm overly complimentary because apparently everybody is too soft nowadays in professional wrestling, says the guy who told Matt Riddle that he wasn't his bro because Matt Riddle thinks he's bad at his job.
Well, didn't Taker also say that as
well? Just going to let that one hang. I'm not going to.
I'm not going to argue that comment, but I am going to say you're going to see a cultural shift in what the locker room was then and what it is now. I mean, obviously that's the case. I mean, that's just the product of the world changing, product of evolution as a whole and as a society. Like, of course, people are going to be quote unquote soft now compared to what they were. I mean, you had
and speaking of that,
glorified murder happened back then, and now we're celebrating it in the Hall of Fame. Kind of a wrong thing to do. So I mean,
did you see Roman's response to that too? And like, it's his typical work shoot that he's doing with it. But Roman essentially responded and he said, "Taker, like, are you kidding me with the guns and the knives? Like, you guys traveled as much as we do. You're telling me you got through TSA with that stuff? Come on!" Like, I love it. Just, yep, that's perfect. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It is why Roman Reigns is my tribal chief and the head of the table. But talk about him in a minute. Drew versus Big Bill.
Yeah,
My
and Drew
excitement level-
goes through airport security with the giant sword. So how's that soft?
That's fair. I can't be excited about this match just based on how things have gone with Goldberg near WrestleMania for the last few years. And the first time it happened when he took the title off of Kevin Owens, okay, I didn't like it very much. I thought the KO and Jericho should have been the Universal title match that year because they just done such a great job. But I mean, on the business end of it, I'll always understand why they bring Goldberg back. Like he does move the needle proverbially. It frustrates me though that okay, they do it the 1 year, they do the great match with Brock and Goldberg, excuse me, and then it's been since then just a law of diminishing returns. You know, since then Goldberg did his spot at SummerSlam with Ziggler was awesome. I love stuff like that. I think that's the role he should be featured in. But that guy's I'm not a fan of the way that he is being presented right now. And I said this, I was on a show last night, and like I will never fault Goldberg the person for the reasons he's given for coming back. Like he's said, like, I want to come back, I want to be an inspiration to kids, I want to do that sort of stuff. At least initially, that is why he said he was coming back. And I'll never begrudge a guy for wanting to make kids happy. I simply can't. But as a wrestling fan, and only speaking for my personal opinion, I don't like him coming back every year and challenging for titles at big events, because especially given what happened with Kevin Owens, and especially given what happened with The Fiend, it's not promising for me. I will be really, really sad if, again, Drew McIntyre and the great work that he's done over the last little bit is taken away by something like this. You know what I mean? It's not what I would like to see. It really isn't.
Well,
Go,
I mean,
Drew.
Yeah, I mean, here's also the thing too. Have you noticed a trend lately with Goldberg that if you put him in the ring with guys that can move at a quicker pace, who could sell a little bit better, he tends to have the better performances. Nothing against The Undertaker and what he's done, but we all know that he was not the performer he used to be in the last 5 years. And because of that, even Roman Reigns had a terrible outing with them. Goldberg had a terrible outing with them. But at the same time, Goldberg is in that category himself because he's never the one who can drive a match. Even though he is the engine, he's just not the steering wheel. If that's a good analogy. So with my thing, I think McIntyre is going to get a good match out of him. I think this is going to be one of the best monster versus monster guys who kick the crap out of each other match we'll see in a while, especially for the heavyweight title. This is I feel an old school heavyweight championship mentality where you got the two big guys in just to kind of beat up each other. Because if there's a guy that could take it and move, just like what Goldberg was then, it's McIntyre right now. And I think it's actually a really cool dynamic. Even though I do wish it was Goldberg from 96 and not 2021, it's one of those things where, you know, it's a put over, it's a rub for Drew McIntyre. I don't believe you're going to see a title switch here. If you do, then I'm going to find my local cheese shredder and, you know, enjoy it. But with that being said, I am calling Goldberg goes for a spear into a Claymore. 1, 2, 3. Drew McIntyre walks into Mania, still WWE champion, and Goldberg takes his 0-1 record of 2021 into Mania, where he, you know, probably has his last match of the year because, you know, if McIntyre is soft to Lesnar and worked more than 2 times a year, you pillow.
Yep, you know, I'm basing a lot of this on my heart. I'm really hoping that Drew's still the champ. Would I be shocked if Goldberg won it? Unfortunately, no. But I'm going to leave that at that, and I'm going to talk about something that I am much more excited about. Roman Reigns, your Universal Champion, your Tribal Chief, the head of the table, taking on Kevin Owens, KO, the prize fighter. I'm so very excited. I'm so very excited for this match. I would be excited to watch Roman Reigns file his taxes at this point. This guy's been so good since he came back. I said earlier, like, a generational run, and I I've got no issue standing by that. Like, he has been in a way that probably hasn't been seen since Cena was like at the top of his game. Like, Roman Reigns is a star in a way that a lot of people haven't been. And that's no discredit to anyone else. That is full credit to Roman Reigns. I think he's been incredible over the last little bit. Everybody who's worked with him, you know, everything's just been elevated when it's been surrounded by Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? And when you've got someone as talented as Kevin Owens, who is such a good babyface when up against the worst of opponents, having him go up against someone as good as Roman Reigns over the last couple of months has just been fantastic to see. So I'm excited as all hell. I would love to see Kevin Owens win. I am certain there will be points today where I believe he is going to. But Roman Reigns walks out your Universal Champion.
Yeah, I do not disagree there. I'm with you. I think the story, if it's any time after WrestleMania, I think Kevin Owens becomes champion. But it's not. It's leading to WrestleMania. No. And not a shot against Kevin Owens. But Roman Reigns is that guy right now on the SmackDown end. And he's the guy that goes into WrestleMania as one of the top draws. Therefore, having the title on him makes so much sense. I remember when it was just the hot potato title between Braun Strowman and The Fiend, and then Roman, you know, we didn't want that. Roman Reigns has solidified that Universal title right now better than anybody has in the last 2 years. If anybody wants to argue with me, then cool, let's do it. I'm open for a debate. But Roman Reigns right now, it's just a universal fact, pun intended. But Roman Reigns, this is the point of Roman Reigns' career where he is cementing himself as one of the top guys in his generation and in his era, to the point where in a couple of years, we wouldn't be surprised if we see him more in Hollywood and doing stuff, especially with WrestleMania being there. It's one of those things where we're seeing this evolution of him as a performer taking that next step. So I do, just like you, I'm with Roman Reigns retaining the title. I have a funny feeling that we'll not see just one Uso come into play here. And that's all I'm going to say.
I wouldn't doubt it.
We haven't seen the other one. We haven't seen the other one for a while. But, I mean...
Yeah, it was Hell in a Cell, wasn't it? Where he tapped out, or where Jay quit the match because Jimmy was getting tapped out. But yeah, I agree, man. I think that would be a very, very cool way to bring him back in just any capacity. But if he's ready to go, he's ready to wrestle, I'd love to see him back.
And here's the thing. If you bring in both Usos, I mean, Kevin Owens kind of repped it well on SmackDown. We could very well see Everrise come in. And that would be a great rub for Everrise if they had a chance to work with the Usos.
Don't disagree at all, man. Now, before we get into the Royal Rumble matches themselves, I know that, like a few of us, everybody's got to grab a beverage. Everybody's got to grab a snack. Everybody could use a break right now, so feel free to do so. We've got a 2-minute break coming up right now. You guys don't have to do any of that stuff, and stick around. We've got some highlights from Thursday night's first edition of Thursday Night Quizplex right here on Love Wrestling. Stay tuned. We make fun of friends.
What wrestler showed up on the Drew Carey Show in the episode Kate Dates a Wrestler, playing the role of the disciplinarian? And here's a hint. He brought the real WWF Intercontinental Championship with him.
Oh my god. Drew Carey Show. I'm trying to date that. That was 90s, right?
That's like deep in the blue eyeshadow phase.
Man. God, I can't think of... The only person I could think of that would have the IC title in the... Oh god, I don't know this one.
I don't either. I am drawing a blank.
I forgot the Drew Carey Show existed.
I gotta spin your 10 seconds there. So I'm sorry, Gabe. We're gonna have to move on to the next players. Lawrence, Mel, do you have an answer for this one?
I got nothing, and I wasn't even watching this show.
Well, Lawrence's wild guess gets it. The answer is
yes, I actually love the Drew Carey Show. And I remember Triple H did like a bunch of sitcoms, like he did Bernie Mac too.
You know, I just couldn't get past the vampire Pomeranian though, so that's what I'm kind of.
Josh in the comments with throwing shade at Gabe. For
wow,
that.
that turned on him.
Gabe is turning on Gabe. Back. Second question.
Oh my gosh.
Oh well, Josh took it back. It says King Gabe.
Make up your mind.
No pressure, Gabe. No pressure.
Mixed signals.
Josh is just taking us on a roller coaster right now with his love-hate relationship with Gabe. I'm worried about this.
There it is. Of course, Gabe, all in good humor. Man, that was an absolute blast to get to be a part of. A huge thanks as well to Zach for taking the time to host it, doing a better job than I ever could of it. Tune in on the last Thursday of every month right here on Love Wrestling to Thursday Night Quizplex. Pro Wrestling Tees gift cards are up for grabs, but more importantly, there's lots of laughs, lots of fun, and testing your knowledge with wrestling trivia from across the board. Every last Thursday of the month, we'll be doing it 12 times this year. Get your names in to contend, or just tune in right here on Love Wrestling, or do that later. This is now. We're talking about the Royal Rumble. What a bad transition on my end, hey, Parrish?
What? Here's a good transition, though. We're now kicking off the second part of it where we're talking about the Royal Rumble. As you can see, my name is today is Pat Patterson Day. Rusev no longer with WWE. You know, he became best man, let's say. Went somewhere else, became a best man. Today, the late, great Pat Patterson, the creator of the Royal Rumble match. First Royal Rumble without Pat Patterson. I declare Royal Rumble days moving on officially as Pat Patterson Day. Let's talk some Rumble, Spencer. How about that for a transition?
I think it was great, but now I feel especially bad because, like, I just thought it'd be funny to reference S Club 7. I think they're pretty cool. So that's why I went with that in my name.
Club Party, and I'll show you how.
S Club Party, don't stop, Parrish. Let's talk Royal Rumble. Let's talk the men's Royal Rumble, because at the conclusion of this show, I have an exclusive quote/clip on one of the women participating in today's Royal Rumble from another woman participating in the women's Royal Rumble today. Parrish, it ain't a bad problem to have when you've got S Club 7 stuck in your head. It's also not a bad problem to have to talk the annual 30-person over-the-top rope battle royal that we get to see tonight, this afternoon, depending on your time zone. The men's Royal Rumble match, overall, I couldn't be more excited. I'm excited for every Royal Rumble. I feel like I made a similar comment last year, but this year, even more than last year, and especially the years prior, it feels just unpredictable. And that's what I love in a Royal Rumble match. There's nothing I dislike more than you know, in 2016, was it cool for me to see Triple H come out? Yeah, it was very cool to see Triple H come out at number 30. But how long was that talked about as what was going to be the plan on dirt sheets and journalists and all that sort of stuff? It was months that everybody heard about it, right? So I'm so excited that this year there's not a clear-cut winner. I would say on both the women's and the men's side, there's at least 5 to 6 to 7 people you could make a very solid case for. And on the men's side, I think that's especially unique. You know, the women's Royal Rumble, with the exception of last year, 2 years ago, excuse me, with Becky Lynch in 2020 or 2019. God, I told you January's tough for years for me. That was really the only predictable women's Royal Rumble, I think, and for good reason. The men's Royal Rumble has been fairly predictable up until, again, last year and this year. I'm going to get your thoughts first.
Last year, we all wanted McIntyre. We just didn't think they'd pull the trigger on him.
No, it was him, and especially since Paul Heyman was running the show at the time, right? Like, McIntyre was up there. I remember there was a lot of talk about Aleister Black at the time, too.
We even had some...
Well, there are a ton of people this year, just a ton. So what I want to do is, with you, Parrish, I'm going to run through who you want to see win and who you think is going to see win. First things first, let's go through who we want to see win. Let's maybe even, again, just try and keep it to 3 as like the focal points. I know you and I are going to end up naming a bunch of people through it, but just to keep to a format.
Yeah, and I was gonna just say, like, why don't we talk about like the surprises and the returns, like things like that too, if we have time. But if we're gonna go with guys that I'd love to see, I would love to see an AJ Styles win. I think that guy has just been built the best going into the Rumble. And I think it's very old school to do that. I think this has been one of the better years where they've actually like built guys strong. He beat like what 3 or 4 guys to prevent them from getting in the Rumble. He was the bar to get in the Rumble. So shouldn't he be the bar to be a favorite in the Rumble? And that's how kind of thing. And yes, you say in the bar, I'm going to go back to one half of the bar. Cesaro, I would love to see him get an opportunity. I remember the pop he had when he picked Big Show up, body slammed him to win the very first Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Man, how cool would that be if he did the same thing to the biggest guy there, or just that he becomes his own guy for once. He finally gets that rub. We saw with Nakamura, which I thought was very surprising a few years back. So I'd love to see him. With that being said, I've never, and I don't think there's ever been a guy who's debuted at the Rumble who wins the Rumble. So I'm going to say, hey, WWE, you want to do something ballsy? Everything going on with Tamatonga Bullet Club. If Jay White rumors are true and he's in your company as of today in the Rumble, you have him go over, who I think is going to win the Rumble. Are we doing predictions right now? Or are we waiting?
You know what? I'll tackle off.
Then I'll leave at those 3 then.
Yeah, because making actual predictions can be pretty quick and easy, I think. You sort of stole them. You sort of stole my my Cesaro reasons, because I think for a lot of the points you made, Cesaro is someone I think is long overdue for something like a Rumble win, whether it's a Rumble win or a major title win or whatever that sort of elevates you to that proverbial next level. He's long overdue. I'd love to see him win. You brought him up earlier as well, too. Shinsuke Nakamura, over the run that he had over the past month, I think that he is he's just shown why he's as great as people have said he is for so long. I know that's a bit of a long-winded sentence, but for years people have been talking about, and rightfully so, that Shinsuke Nakamura is one of the best professional wrestlers in the world, but perhaps hadn't shown it for the last little bit in WWE. That gauntlet match, and I think every year you and I have a similar conversation about, well, this gauntlet match made this guy a star, whether it's Kofi, whether it's Seth Rollins, whether it's the New Day taking them to another level in that gauntlet match that they were a part of, right? And this year, I think that Shinsuke Nakamura is really the beneficiary of that. And I don't know if WWE would pull the trigger on a Rumble win for him again, but I'd absolutely love to see it. The other person that I had as a bit of a dark horse to win a Rumble this year is Adam Cole. And I really, again, don't know if they would pull the trigger. I was a lot more confident in that pick before War Games, to be honest with you. My thought was the War Games was going to be the write-off for at least Adam Cole, if not the entire Undisputed Era. They'd come up around the Rumble after cooling their jets and building a bit of mystique, whatever you want to say, and then making a big splash. But with the way that they're sort of going about things in NXT right now, I just don't see that happening. They're right in the middle of a story. It's not like you could even feasibly tie something up in the next week or two, right? So we'll see. We'll see.
Don't
worry about it. Don't worry about it. I think that he would be a great choice to win a Rumble. And my thought always has been that if the Royal Rumble's there to elevate new stars, then elevate them as much as possible. You don't need to take someone from, this is a bad description of it, but it's sort of the first one that comes to mind, is you don't take someone from an A- to an A with the Royal Rumble. Take someone from, where a lot of the casual fans wouldn't know Adam Cole, present him as a star from right off the get-go, have him win a Rumble, and just have people have that, oh my God, this guy's huge. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot to be said for that being a moment in a Rumble, having that real shocker. So I would love to see it. I'm just going to carry the ball and run with it as far as it goes into actual predictions for it, because in my notes, I have 2 guys that I see as prospective winners here. But I'm going to go with one. The one that I'm not going with is Daniel Bryan. which breaks my heart to say. I'm going Brock Lesnar. I have to go Lesnar. I think that there are too many stories or too many potential stories with Lesnar as a Rumble winner going forward. He's got not just, I wrestled this guy once and he beat me. Like Drew McIntyre beat him at Mania after a historic title win or a historic title reign. And Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar is, I mean this in a very complimentary way. It is like I could watch those guys wrestle all day if they turned out to be the next Cena Orton. I think people forget how good a lot of those Cena Orton matches were. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I've got to go with Brock. He could be a huge surprise entrant. I think that the fact that WWE shifted gears since Friday and changed it from the men's number 30 is going to be announced to the women's number 30 is going to be announced. I think that they locked someone up or something up at number 30 that changed the game. And I think that something is the beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar. So, yeah, got no issue calling him. I think he's got her.
See, I like that. But I also have this. I think Lesnar will return in the Rumble, but I think we're going to see Bobby Lashley eliminate him to set up that match at WrestleMania. I think Lashley's calling out too much for you not to pull a trigger on that one, because I picked up that broken heart of yours, Spencer. I rubbed it off. I mended it back together. And I asked myself, will I take care of this broken heart? My answer was yes. My pick to win the 2021 Royal Rumble on the men's side.
I knew that's where you were going with it too. So I tried to get rid of all of my also local to Saskatchewan Pilsner right here. Much like Brock Lesnar is. I'm drinking in celebration. It's my 2-year my teaser. People are going to watch back at the start of the show and be like, oh my goodness, he was drinking Pilsner the whole time because he was going to choose a Saskatchewanite to win it. Yeah, that's long-term storytelling, brother.
It's wrong, but yes, it is long-term.
I don't disagree, man. And to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that the Love Wrestling Elite Championship is on the line, I would have no issues. I would be thrilled with Daniel Bryan winning it. I really would. You know, in the same way that I talked earlier about how the Rumble should be used to elevate. Well, and I talked earlier about how the Rumble should be used to elevate a newer talent and something along those lines and, you know, bring it to the next generation. Of anybody that I would be happy to see as a deserving Royal Rumble winner or someone who's earned it after years of work, Daniel Bryan fits that bill. That guy was done dirty 2 years in a row at least, and arguably could have won it before then. Just based on
arguably, we could say Daniel Bryan's in the last probably 4 or 5 months has helped elevate more guys in that time frame. Whether you talk about a Jey Uso, whether you talk about a resurgence of Nakamura, just, you know, even Big E and him being on that SmackDown writing team now. Oh my God, like he has done some wonders on that SmackDown brand. Daniel Bryan, I think that's why it's okay on our end if we say, hey, that guy's the okay established guy just because we know what he'll be able to do.
Yep. Ivan Thompson, Tex Gaines hopping into the chat. You just like shit beer. You're mean, man.
It's true.
Don't critique another man's beer choices.
Well,
I'm hurt.
I mean,
thought we were friends. So you're locking in Daniel Bryan. I am locking in Brock Lesnar. If you guys are in the chat, don't just make fun of my beer choices. Don't make fun of Parrish's haircuts. Don't make fun of us at all, to be honest with you. Just get your Royal Rumble beer thoughts. I was trying to distract.
What color is that kettle, Spencer?
Don't just give your thoughts on how we look today. Don't just give your thoughts on what we're drinking. Give your thoughts on the Royal Rumble. Let us know what you're thinking about today's event. It's going to be a great one. It's my favorite pay-per-view of the year. I'm pretty sure that I speak for Parrish on that as well. It's going to be a great show. Stephen and Washchuck, you're both handsome fellas. All right. Hi, friend. Ivan, we will drink soon. I'm really hoping so. I really hope that everybody is staying safe out there, maintaining social distancing, maintaining their responsibility, but also maintaining their mental health in whatever way they so see fit, as long as it is not affecting other people. There's my PSA for the day. We're going to move on now to the Women's Royal Rumble match. We're going to get off the political side of things because even more, I think, than the Men's Royal Rumble match, Parrish, I just think this one's way more wide open. Like, it's going to be absolutely insane. I think that every woman coming through that curtain, for the most part, I'll be able to sit there and say, shit, she could win it. You know what I mean? It's very, very unpredictable. I don't have a less cliche way to put it. This is as unpredictable of a Royal Rumble match as can be, and I love it.
Yeah, when we talk about the men's thing, hey, I really like the idea of them building up a lot of people beforehand to make them look very much like favorites. They did the same thing on the SmackDown side, where you can look at, say, like Bianca Belair, who might have had one of the best pushes leading up into a Rumble in a long time. Bayley also looks like a strong competitor in this, as she always has, as I think she's the MVP of the women's division in the last 2 years. And then you have Alexa Bliss, who I think is doing some of the best work right now, and the only one working with male talent, who I think is really kicking ass right now. So I look at those three as your top three, and then that's not even including the Charlottes of the world, the Shayna Baszlers, the Rhea Ripleys, who possibly will be in there. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to seeing this. I don't think we're going to see a lot of big returns. Maybe a Trish Stratus, maybe a Lita. That's about it. Possibly Molly, because she's always there. I think a lot of NXT are going to be in this, and I really hope so. There's a lot of great talent in NXT.
100%. Before we get into the prediction side of things, we've got to give a quick shout out to our friends at Wrestling Plug Inc. Great to see you guys. Thanks for the shout out. We hope we're killing it. We hope you guys are enjoying the show. If you do, like, share, subscribe, retweet, give us a Yelp review, whatever it takes. You guys have heard my cliches throughout the show, so I don't need to repeat them again. Rich King, also another local professional wrestler here in Alberta. One of my personal favorites, if you ask me. TY Simps for Sam. I don't understand the joke, but I also I wanted to make sure that it was highlighted. I just wanted to make sure you got your shout out there, Rich. Back to the Women's Royal Rumble match. Parrish, I'll kick it off with this one. Same format as last time, though. Who would I want to see win this match? There are a couple of people, but in the interest of keeping it short, someone that I would want to see win this match is Shotzi Blackheart. And I know that that's a long shot. I'm not making that a prediction by any means, but you talk about, again, as I mentioned earlier, trying to shoot someone to the moon and try and give them that huge, huge push. She would be someone who could certainly benefit from something like that, right? You can make a case for all of those aforementioned names, whether it's Bayley or Rhea Ripley or Charlotte Flair or whoever else your other favorites may be. You can make the case that at this point they quote unquote don't need the Royal Rumble win. They can all continue to maintain their momentum or continue to move forward with sort of where they're at and keep going up. Shotzi Blackheart would be exponentially beneficial if she would benefit exponentially. I'll phrase that properly. If she was to win a Royal Rumble, I think that again, she's maybe someone who I think a lot of people know is a great pro wrestler, is entertaining anytime she's on TV, but maybe doesn't get that same recognition or have the same notoriety behind her name as a Rhea Ripley or a Charlotte or even a Bianca Belair. So she's who I would want to win it. I can also always make a case for Chelsea Green. I'll just mark when I can. Why not?
So who's your prediction?
Well, mentioned her earlier, tried to avoid saying her name as often as I could. I don't see why you wouldn't have Bianca Belair win the Rumble. I really don't. She's that perfect mix of someone who has established herself over the last few months. I think we forget that, there were some definite absences. There were definite extended periods that she wasn't on TV, but she got called up at WrestleMania. She debuted on WrestleMania making the save in that tag match, right? So I can see, she's been doing the part. She's been playing the part well for the better part of 10 months now. Like you said, she's been heated up at the right time, much like we saw with the Drew McIntyre last year. I really both want her to win it and think she should win it. The other person that I had, actually, I'll let you pick, and then I'll give the tougher one on me, because I sort of
I'm just going to say one that somebody I'd love to see is Bayley, just because the historic fact, first woman to win NXT SmackDown Women's Tag Money in the Bank Rumble winner would be Bayley if she won it today. That would be really cool to see. Biggest impact for a debut, I think, is Tessa Blanchard, pun intended. Somebody I'd love to see, or somebody who I think can return very well, is the man, Becky Lynch. The person who I'm predicting to win, Alexa Bliss.
I'd love it. I really would. And again, I'm super biased for any of the sort of work that hints on the supernatural, nonetheless, like fully dives right into it, right? So I love what she's doing. I love what they're doing in sort of keeping the Fiend alive, pun intended, after he got burned to death. I love what they're doing on that end. I think it's been a cool as hell feud. I would love to see Randy Orton get screwed out of the Rumble by the Fiend somehow, but either way, I want there to be a major presence. And like you say, Alexa Bliss winning the Rumble would be absolutely huge. The other one that I had as my prospective winner before we start to wrap her up here on the show, Charlotte Flair. And I wouldn't even be mad about it. I really, really wouldn't be. Again, I would. I think there's a great story to be told between her and Asuka again. I really do. I never have had an issue with WrestleMania rematches. I don't think every match on a Mania card needs to be a first time ever main event Mania match, you know. Asuka and Charlotte have proven their magic together. Both of their matches have been fantastic, or both of their marquee matches, I know they've had more than two, have been fantastic. And I think that this is a great opportunity to really reinvent the both of them in a different way, right? Like when they first wrestled at Mania, Charlotte was a face. Asuka was going in sort of that tweener, more of a heel role, right? And yeah, I know their SmackDown title match was in what the roles would be for this one in the way I'm fantasy booking it out. But again, Charlotte Flair chasing the Raw Women's Championship as a heel, I think would be just absolutely fantastic again. I really do. So that's my other pick. If you guys have any other picks to get in, any comments, any concerns, any suggestions for the next episode of the P.O.S. show, let us know in the comments. We're happy to take them. We're happy to answer them. We're happy to highlight them, as we will with our friend Rich King. Thank you, Spencer. Keep killing it, boys. We will. We can guarantee that we will, or at the very least, we can hope that we will. We will next be doing this event, I believe, for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. If I'm incorrect on that, I am very sorry, but you can stay tuned to the Love Wrestling social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can set your notifications on any of the platforms we're broadcasting on today. Make sure you don't miss out. We're always happy to talk professional wrestling, and we always want to continue to bring you more great guests, more great highlights, more great content, like we hope we brought you guys today for the first ever edition of the P.O.S. show. Now, Parrish, we're going to show the rules here as we close out the show. But before we do that, before we get to the actual outro of the edition of the P.O.S., the prediction or spoiler, the Parrish or Spencer, the whatever you want to call it show, got an exclusive for you guys. You guys took the time to watch our show when there is so much wrestling programming coming out today. So I figured it was appropriate to get a highlight from a personal favorite professional wrestler of mine on a lady who will be entering the Royal Rumble today at number 30. Hasn't even been announced yet, guys, but you guys are getting an exclusive from my upcoming interview with Chelsea Green. This is her thoughts on wrestling in Italia on Main Event.
Right, man. But I mentioned, of course, the Raw debut, the NXT match again that you mentioned that you had with her. But let's touch on the main event matchup, because at least as a Canadian, the optics of watching you wrestle Natalya is so, so cool. But you've mentioned her before as literally the dream opponent, or one of the two dream opponents that you've ever had. So again, on a different level, how surreal was that for you to be able to step into the ring with her?
Oh man, that was something that I've been looking forward to since I started wrestling, and I wish I could do it so many more times. She's such an amazing human being and such a leader in and out of the ring, but I was really excited to feel that leadership in the ring. I already knew that she was like that outside. You can just tell from her social media presence and everything, but to feel that in the ring, and both of us kind of come from the same background where, you know, we were trained in Calgary, and we have the ground layer and the foundation of our training is similar. And so it was really cool just to be able to get in the ring and roll around with her. Like, I didn't care about the wins or the losses. I was just really excited to have that opportunity, and I hope I get to have many more of those opportunities.
And there it is. As you guys heard it here first, Chelsea Green will be the next guest on Spencer Love Interviews. That'll be coming out this Friday. Again, wherever you guys are paying attention to the P.O.S. show, you guys can pay attention to that interview in the coming weeks, as well as more great content from us here at Love Wrestling Parish. As usual, we're a little over our match time, but, you know, not ungodly over our match times as we've done in the past before. So first things first, man, thanks again for doing this. It's great to finally be able to do some Royal Rumble predictions with you. It's great to finally get to do any sort of wrestling predictions with you in an official capacity. Let people know where they can continue to keep track of you, whether it's on Love Wrestling, whether it is your professional wrestling career or anything outside of it, friend.
Yeah, you can follow me socially on @ChrisParish on Instagram, on the Chris.Parish. So @ChrisParish was on the Twitter. You can follow me at the Love Wrestling thing. You can hit up my Twitter to find out my I do have a WordPress kind of a site that I'm working through right now. So that's going to be another form you can follow me. Creator of the Parachutes, my Twitch. I'm there really just to smack talk everyone and watch them fail at video games. So that's fun. But that's what I have going on. I will be talking more about an upcoming project I have later, so keep tuned for that. Spencer, back to you.
Thank you very much, my friend. Now, you guys can find pretty well any of Love Wrestling's major social media platforms scrolling across the bottom there. As I give my own, I'm going to bring the rules back up for the P.O.S. show's Love Wrestling Elite Championship. Of course, if you guys want to see photos of that, head to any of those social medias you see scrolling across the bottom. If you want to follow me personally, head to Twitter, head to Instagram. Twitter, you can find me at Spenny Love. That is usually where I'm most active. But if you guys want great pictures of my dog, then you can head to Instagram. That is at Spenny and the Jets. If you guys didn't get a chance to catch that social media graphic right there that we just had up explaining the rules for the championship and the winner, you can catch that again. I've said it all the time, but there's no reason for you guys to forget if I'm saying it this often. Follow the stuff there at the bottom, the social media links you can find below for the rules, the photos of the championships, anything else that we've got coming up here on lovewrestling.ca, and much, much more great stuff, including where you can keep track of Parish and I doing the next P.O.S. show here on Love Wrestling. It'll be the next WWE pay-per-view. We can guarantee that. I'm just trying to cover for the fact that I can't remember which one that may be. So, Parish, I'll say it for you. For Chris Parish, I'm Spencer Love. Thanks for tuning into the P.O.S. show, friends. It's always appreciated. Hope you enjoyed it.